How can costs be reduced without diminishing the product's value for the customer? This question is at the origin of the so-called target costing approach. This method is not a cost calculation technique, but rather a way of managing costs. The aim of this method is to help manufacture a product whose perceived value meets consumer expectations, all while not exceeding a certain cost. A ceiling, the target cost, which makes it possible to meet profitability requirements of the shareholders. This method is based on two principles, the principle of additivity and the principle of symmetry. The principle of additivity considers that the total value of the product for the customer can be broken down into independent and additive attributes. For example, the value of a marker will be related to its design for 20%, its ease of use for 50%, and its eco-friendliness for 30%. The principle of symmetry states that each component of the product should represent a share of the cost equal to its importance in the value perceived by the customer. Thus, if the eco-friendliness of the marker is linked to the ink used, the cost of the ink should not exceed 30% of the total cost of the product. Now let's talk about the process. First of all, the selling price is determined based on a market study. We obtain the price accepted by the market, which will be the starting point of the process. Then, from this target price, we subtract the margin, which ensures profitability requirements are met. This gives us the target cost of the product. We then compare this target cost to the actual cost. When the actual cost is higher than the target cost, we move on to the next step. A value analysis was carried out to measure the value of each of the product's attributes, applying the principle of additivity. Next, for each component of the product, the target cost is calculated based on its contribution to the value perceived by the customer, according to the principle of symmetry. When the actual cost of a component is higher than its target cost, we look for ways to reduce it. This approach is interesting because it aims to control costs while preserving value for the customer. However, it can prove to be very complex. Moreover, the two principles on which it is based, additivity and symmetry, are debatable. Indeed, it can happen that a component which accounts for only 30% of the value perceived by the customer is nevertheless essential to the production of the product. Furthermore, why seek such symmetry between cost and value? And why do we only try to reduce the gaps when the target cost is higher than the estimated cost, and not in the opposite case?